Hello friends, this video is about creating an SVG visual in Power BI. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics, and this video mainly meant for the beginners who wants to create custom visuals in Power BI. I'm going to use the code and explain each line of code step by step, why that line is required and how that is useful to create a custom visual, and it helps you to experiment yourself on other visuals. So the outcome will be, after watching the complete video, the outcome will be this. You'll be getting this kind of visual, which is called a circular progress bar showing the profit percentage for each city, and also there is a label. My request is to watch this video completely to understand the concept so that you can actually give a feedback, and because your feedback is very important to me, and based on that I can create more such videos. And you have any questions, please mention them so that I can clarify your doubts. So if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and share this video with many so that they can also understand the concept, and please press the bell icon. To write the code, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Not necessary you have to use it, but it is better to write the code inside that. So let me jump into Visual Studio Code, and I'm creating an SVG visual. So I need to start with an SVG tag. It starts with SVG and then ends like this. Now inside SVG I need to start with width. The width of it is 150 pixels and the height is 150 pixels. So this is the external container, the basic container where my visual will be placed, and the drawing area, nothing but where I create my visual, that is called view box, equal, starting from 0 from the left side and 0 from the top, ending at 36 pixels down and ending at 36 pixels in the right, and this is how my container will be. So this will allow me to create the visual inside that. So view box is the drawing area. Next line of code is creating some definitions. So definitions, and inside that I need to create the filter. Filter defines a custom visual effect which can be applied for SVG elements. So filter, it has an ID. This ID will be used inside the SVG visual, and that ID I'm giving as shadow. These are the special effect. And then it has X, that is minus 50%, and then Y is again minus 50%. Basically this is from the center, the distance from the center. So it should be like exactly in the center kind of. And then width is 200% and height is 200%. We are defining the shadow in this code. First let me close the filter tag, but still I need to add the primitive of the SVG, that is dropping the shadow, drop shadow rather. The drop shadow has the directions, X direction and Y direction. So dx equal 0, dy equal 2. So basically the direction of the shadow, and then standard deviation is 3. This will be the blurry of the shadow, the smoothness of the shadow. The number is more, the smoothness of the shadow is more. Flood color, the shadow color, equal, I can add any color for that matter. So I'm adding black. And the opacity, that means the transparency. I don't want to make it completely black. I want little gray shade. For that, flood opacity equal 0.5. That means 50% opacity. And then the filter closed. So this will create the shadow effect in the SVG. The next step will be creating the first circle which drops the shadow. The one which is showing the percentage. It has a border, a blue border and green color background, and having a drop shadow. that we are going to create. For that circle, the properties will be cx equal 18 pixel and cy equal 18 pixel. Cx and cy are the distance to the center from the border, and then r, the radius of the circle, is 10 pixels. Then fill will be, I'll currently keep it as white, and then stroke, nothing but the border is, I'll just put it as blue, and then the border size will be 2 pixel, and the final one, the shadow, which we wanted to have that as a drop shadow, that is we are using filter, and it is defined on the definitions, and we are using URL, so please refer that, and the ID is shadow. Close the circle tag. Now let us see what exactly it is going to give us the result. Let me copy this entire text or the code. Let me go to Power BI. I've already tried creating the test, and just let me paste this within double quotes, and then let me add a HTML visual, and inside that, if I drag drop this test measure, you will see one circle which is having a shadow. Now I need to create the progress circle, which is the circle getting animated and stopping at 80%. The radius of that circle is a little larger, and also the distance of that circle is little more distant from the center point, and accordingly my cx and cy and radius will change. And also the animation will come from a class which will be created in the style, so we need to take care of that as well. So let me start with another circle, and then class we have not yet defined, so I'm keeping it pending. Cx equal to 118 pixels, cy equal 118 because it's a circle, and radius is 16 points. Now I need to fill. Fill is none. Stroke will be, currently let it be green, and then stroke width will be 2 pixel, and the stroke line cap. When you create a stroke, by default the stroke edges will be very sharp, and I want them to be rounded, so that is why the line cap is round. And then transform equal rotate minus 90 degrees. Why minus 90 degrees? Whenever you create a SVG, by default the SVG starts from here, like 3 o'clock, whereas the SVG should start from here, and accordingly it has to animate it. So for that I am selecting that minus 90%, so it will start from there. And the most important thing now is stroke dash array 100 pixels. Basically the dash array decides the pattern of dashes and helps creating the progress effect. Imagine that you have some dashes across that circle, and each dash is getting slowly filled with as like a pattern and getting that 80%. Currently everything is hidden, that is why 100%, and now 100 points. Now we are adding that stroke dash offset equal 100 minus 70. So 70% will be filled and only 30% will be kept unfilled. So it will show the 70% as a progress. And then close the circle. I need to add the text layer so that I can tell what I wanted to present in that particular visual. So it will be text. The text coordinates are the position x is 18 and Y is 20. Text anchor is middle, so that it is in the middle. Then text fill is black. Font size is 5, and then font family, it is Arial, and then sans serif. This is going to be adjusted or manipulated while we are adding the data set, because this text has to be based on whatever we want. So that we will define in a while. And here the text, my text, and text tag is closed. Now I need to define the class for progress circle, so where that animation will happen. So it will be in two parts. One is defining the class, that is in the style. So class starts with dot progress circle, and then it will be defined within the curly braces. Animation is named as progress animation, and it will be 0.5 second, that means half second. Ease out, so that it will be smoothly forwarded and forwards. What exactly happens with forwards? If you look at the visual, when I hover the mouse, the circle is stopping at 80%, and also the circle stops at 60% based on the data. That forward decides that stoppage, where it exactly need to stop. And I need to now define the animation keyframes. Progress animation, which has already been defined on the top, from stroke dash array, offset rather, which will be 100, to stroke offset is 30. So from 100, that means actually 100 means completely hidden. 30 means only 30% is hidden. Remaining portion 70% or 80%, whatever value will be colored. So this animation will define that. So with that we have finished the base code, but we need to make sure that data set is added and that data set is applied to the values. For example, here this value will be taken care by the data set, and also this value will be taken care by the data set, and also this animation thing also will be taken care by the data set. Now let us test this in Power BI with static values. After that we can add the data set and manipulate the values accordingly. But there is a small mistake here, the spelling mistake. It should be stroke, and here this class I need to add inside the circle. So circle class equal within single quotes, add it. And now let us copy this entire code. Let's come back to Power BI and add a new measure, and the measure name is test equal within double quotes, paste the code, and then let us add a HTML visual, and inside that if I add the test in values, you can see that thing is now it's having 70% as a growth or whatever percentage it is showing. That is why it is animated. But now we need to add the data to this visual so that it will interact with the data the way I have shown in the other visual. Finally, we need to integrate the visual with the Power BI data set. Currently this chart is showing a static value which is showing 70%. And what are the changes we need to do? First, we need to change the color of this circle. The circular progress bar color should be dynamically changing, and the inside color also should be dynamically changing. And then the value also should come inside. Whatever the portion is not filled is called dash offset. That need to be decided. So let us go to the code and understand what exactly the changes need to happen. First, the color one. We have in the first circle there is a fill white which need to be dynamically changing. In the second circle we have the stroke green, which need to be changed dynamically, and dash offset, which is showing the balancing value, which is not showing any color, that should be defined. Same way here in the keyframes, the dash offset should be defined. Along with that, we need to add the text with a proper number and as well as the label we want to. Let me add a new project and where I'll create the data so that you can understand what kind of data I'm using there and how I'm changing the measure. So I've added already a new Power BI session. I'm picking up the data from here. I've created one small table in Excel where we have city, profit margin and revenue. Let me go to Power BI, enter data, and then just paste the data, and name of the table is data. First I need to decide what kind of color I want and what are the other measures I need to decide. If I look at the data, I have starting from 0.2, that means 20% to 80%. Accordingly the color need to be decided. So let me create a new measure. Measure name will be color switch, and this is the final measure for color. Also I need to have one measure for total profit. Now let me jump into the measure. So let me copy this entire code and create a new measure in Power BI, and the name of the measure is SVG, and this has to be within double quotes. If you look at while constructing the code in Visual Studio Code, I have added only single quotes. Normally in while coding people add double quotes also. Since in Power BI measure it has to be added with single quote only, because it is getting added inside the double quotes, there will be a problem. So that is the reason you need to make sure that whatever code you have added is having only single quotes. Now let's come to the color. So the first circle, white, the fill is white, which need to be just remove the color name only within double quotes, and then we need to concatenate color. So what I'm doing is I'm actually breaking the text into two pieces. So here double quotes, that means it is closed here, then concatenating with my measure and then concatenating with a new text. Same thing I need to do with the next stroke also. That is stroke is green, here I'm just pasting it. Now this portion need to be changed, the value. So it is 100 and 100 minus 70. That means this need to be changed like this: 100 minus margin multiplied by 100, because margin is a decimal value which need to be converted as a number and it has to be subtracted from 100, and that value need to be accordingly adjusted. Same thing I need to add inside the keyframes as well. This 30 will be that, and which will be taken care. And let us see what exactly happens now when I visualize it. So let me go to the report view, add a bar chart. In the bar chart I'm adding the city and revenue, adding a new page. This is my custom tooltip. I'm changing the size of the page as a tooltip. Inside that I'm adding a new visual. For that I need to download the visual. So go to get more visuals and then search for HTML and let it be added to the visual pane and let it be part of the visual. Now inside this I'm adding SVG, and currently it is just showing a value like this. However, let me go to page 1 and select the chart and go to the properties, go to general and then go to tooltips, activate the tooltip as page 2, and if I hover the mouse, it's 80%, it's less than that, and then it is actually showing the numbers and the values accordingly. But I want the value inside the box, right? That need to be updated. For that, let me jump into the measure again. So here the text, my text will be double quotes and then again ampersand. So this portion need to be done carefully. I need to make sure that this is within double quotes, and then format, because I'm creating a text formula and my values will be scattered, it will come as a general value, so I need to format it. It is margin, which need to be shown as percentage. So within double quotes 0%, and close bracket. And now this will give us the right outcome. And if I hover the mouse over here, the value is coming like the value, but I need to change the color to white. So let me go to measure again. Here the text font color is black, which need to be white. That is how you can get this final visual, and now you have the final outcome. However, I'm going to give a complete code snippet through a link so that you can copy that, but my suggestion is do not copy paste. Try to understand each portion of the code snippet and then accordingly create yourself so that you'll get the